Hello and welcome to the talk Location-Based Virtual Reality. I'm Maren and Maren Demant, and I'm an immersive experience designer. I'm very pleased to talk today on Bright Talk. Currently, I'm working on a project called Empfaenger Verzogen with my co-founder, Winnie Christiansen, on the company Transceiving Reality X. I'm very happy to answer your questions during the talk, and afterwards you can also contact me on Twitter anytime. So we prepared a little video for you to get to know the team and also to see the progress in the project. You can find it on Vimeo, and I also attached it to this presentation. So what I want to talk about today, I want to present to you the project Empfaenger Verzogen, which is in English kind of receiver moved. I want to talk a little about theory and in general about location-based VR. So Empfaenger Verzogen is immersive theater using virtual reality. And we are telling the story of a spouse and their son, and you're coming to their private home as a distant relative. And it's up to you then to find out what exactly is lurking behind the deliberately jovial facade. And the VR headset creates an expanded level of reality and questions the established situation. It's a tragic comedy, but for all of you who don't know, I want to explain what exactly is immersive theater. So immersive theater is a real-life role-playing game which has no fourth wall nor a grandstand, and your active participation forms how the story develops. So our key sentence for this piece is come as a guest and leave as a confidant. And the general question that we want to tackle is, how do I behave in various situations? Also, like from, the duration of the experience is very individually, but on average it takes 40 minutes to play through. And what is very special about it is that there is just one guest per slot allowed. So it's like a 1-on-3 situation. So there is the recipient together with 3 actors, and you really depend on your own actions, and it's going to be very intense. So what are the main topics that we tackle? We're tackling the social phenomenon hikikomori. Hikikomori are people who search for the virtual exile and refuse performance, so they're not taking place in society anymore. They're just being in their rooms, being isolated, just roving around in digital worlds. They're creating avatars, and they're facing problems with intermingling identities. Also, we're discussing the miscommunication between digital natives and digital immigrants, which can be very funny. And like from the main idea is to tackle the tension between escapism and confrontation. So both parties, the spouse and the son, use escapism and confrontation to deal with their situation they are in. What we did for this piece is we built a whole stage to tell the story, which is basically the apartment of the family. So you enter the installation through the corridor, and the main action takes place in the living room. This is also where you find the VR headset and look through an expanded reality. Before you go to the installation, you'll get a mobile phone, and as you can see in the children's room, there's also a mobile phone. So you can communicate with the so-called final enemy, to talk in game terms, the child that is isolated in his room. And also he will notify you when it's time to use the VR headset. So as you can see, the children's room is locked in the beginning, and the goal is to kind of unlock this door, meet this child, and decide on you'll have a moral decision to make there. To show you. Sorry, I just got a call. To show you the stage a little, we have a photo here of the living room. So down there is the armchair where you're going to sit to experience the VR. And this is the children's room where you're going to meet the Hikikomori sun. Just to explain a little bit more how this works, how we combine physical reality, so is how we call it, and the virtual reality. So you are a recipient in the Immersive Theatre play, and there will be certain points where the actors will freeze in their position, and you'll get a notification by the lights that are dimming, and also a notification from the phone that you've got before that it's now time to use the VR headset. And what you're seeing in the VR is the same living room with the same actors being in the same freeze position, and from there he starts to play, and crazy things will happen in VR that won't be possible to show in physical reality. The stage is built in modules, and so we can rebuild it anywhere. So we can literally travel with our apartment. And how do we overlap physical reality and virtual reality? We have sensory overlaps, spatial overlaps, and narrative overlaps. So when you are in the VR slots, you can actually feel what is happening to you. There will be haptic triggers. You can smell what is happening in VR, and we'll have spherical sound. All this will be generated in the stage, like you know it from 4D cinema. Also, coming to spatial and narrative overlaps and stuff that happens in VR and PR, as we call it. You'll find in both worlds again after taking off the headset again. Additionally to the Immersive Theatre play, we're developing an app to experience the story of Empfaenger Verzogen in your living room with your own VR device. And what we're doing there is, as we're having the general question, how do I behave? We're using choose your own path gameplay mechanics. So we're having 4 different character traits you can choose from. And then, for example, you're being the nice guy or you're being the mean guy. And then there are 4 different reactions following to what character you decided on to be. But in the end, it's a linear story that keeps on going. Coming back to the team, so there are a lot of people working on this piece having the same vision, and I'm very happy that we found these people to work with, and it's a great team. Maybe that's good to know. We're still in progress, so you'll see that in the video that we've provided for you. We are now in production phase, and the premiere is planned for January 2017. Stating that, let's talk about some theory. I want to ask you the question, do you think that 2016 is the year of VR? Let's see, I start the voting. I think now you have at least 60 seconds time to say yes or no to that. Feel free to vote for this question. Well, maybe I just keep on going. Funnily, there was virtual reality already in the 50s. Like I just want to show you the Sensorama from Morten Heilig. Incredible guy. What he did is he built a whole set on the Sensorama where you smell and feel a ride through New York City streets. And it is, I think I've never experienced it, but I think it was fantastic. Also, what he did, like the HMD that you see right on the top, it seems very familiar to the things that we know today. But still, which is pretty true, 2016 definitely is a milestone in VR history, thanks to Palmer. And like there is a lot of development at the moment. So talking about history, we see evolution in media, and nowadays we are kind of in the virtual sphere, where we're talking about immersion. So what I believe is the term storytelling becomes story living. So all the technical development that we see today all heads to that we really can live a story, we can experience it. So this brought me to the question, what makes me living, which is a very, very broad question, but I try to bring it to some easy point. So I was dealing with human perception. This is a very, very simple, abstract graphic. So there's the environment that stimulates our senses. Like we have hearing, we have sight, we have haptics, we have taste, and we have smell. Like our body and all the things in our body, especially our brain, deal with all that, and we put out an interaction in form of movement or communication back to the environment. So looking at the sensory apparatus of the human, more details, what I just told you, we have the sight, which is normally stereoscopic. We're having the hearing, which is like a 360 sense, so it's spherical. We have the touch and the temperature for sure. We can smell, we can taste. This is all what comes from the environment to us. And we're having the balance, which is kind of between extern and intern. Then we have the intern senses. They are way more, but just let me state one, which is the proprioception, which is the sense for being in a position or being in movement. So just to state that, the human is a social animal. So we like to communicate, and we do that very often. Oh, there is a question. Oh yeah, there was the question, what is your response to people who still think of VR as just a game? I'm going to answer that later. I'm going to answer that later in the Q&A. Thank you for that question. So where I'm heading to, I just found the definition of virtual reality of Jonathan Stoyer, who says, virtual reality is defined as a real or simulated environment in which a perceiver experience telepresence. I really like this definition as it's very broad and easy to use somehow. So, and I really recommend to you to read his article in the Journal of Communication. It really changed my way of thinking about VR. But back to the point, what Stoyer did, he put up a matrix of telepresence that he measured with vividness and interactivity. So vividness here means that the media is pretty clear or pretty told somehow. And to zoom in, what he says has low vividness and low interactivity is the book. So everything we read in a book, we have to in the end imagine in our brain, so we have to fulfill it with our cognitivity. And what he says has high vividness and low interactivity is we'll find high sensorama here again. High vividness, therefore, as he really triggered a lot of senses with his sensorama, but basically you can, you're just sitting there and riding linearly with a bike through New York City, so there is not a lot of interactivity. Coming to high vividness and high interactivity, we all know the Star Trek holodeck, so this is where everything comes together. You can interact freely and all the senses are triggered. But where are we today? So let's call it semi-vividness and high interactivity. We are in goggles and gloves and headphones, how he describes it. And I want to talk a little bit about HTC Vive, because this is the device that I'm having at home, and I really love it, and I love to use it. So what it does, it has stereoscopic sight for sure, and also you can move your sight. It has, if you wear headphones, it has the hearing. It is motion sickness optimized. You have the freedom of moving on a 4.5 multiplied 4.5 meters, and you have the controllers to interact and move in your environment. It is social. You can have avatars and play an online multiplayer, or be in alt space together, where you actually talk and where you communicate with others who are wearing the Vive or the VR or whatever it is, or the Oculus. So it's really fantastic. I really love it. But to talk from from the market side, it's still very expensive. So you wouldn't need just the headset and the computer that is VR ready, and it's not very convenient. I just had a VR party last weekend, and a friend of mine brought a second HTC Vive. So we have enough HMDs for all the party participants. And he really had to carry 2 big bags with the computer and with the headset and then set it up. So it's not very easy to use yet. Also, like, we cannot feel what is happening in VR. We cannot smell what is happening in VR, and we cannot taste it. I put this in brackets because we kind of have a limited space. What I just said, the body language is limited to the arms and the head currently, and as long as there is no face tracking or face recognition, we cannot put mimics on our avatars, and it really doesn't support local multiplayer, so you won't be in the same room playing a game together, for example. So just to make some prospects, I think that VR will be affordable in the future, and I think that VR will be more convenient as we see how all the other technology devices developed over the time. It's just getting better and easy to use. And also VR will be enriched with a lot of sensory things, like we see here the suit, or full body tracking, or the treadmill from Vertex Omni, where you can just walk wherever you want to. And also like the device down on the left that lets you smell the virtual reality. So this will all happen. Asking you, do you think, or do you believe that VR will enter the private home just like the TV? I'm putting this question up for voting. So you have now again 60 seconds to give your vote on that question. I just leave this poll open and keep on going, maybe. So I think it's definitely possible that one day we're having like dedicated VR rooms at home. But I also think that stating all these things I said before, that location-based VR will be a big thing. So talking about VR arcades, again, VR arcades are not very new. So this is a picture of a VR arcade in the 90s. But I also prepared location-based VR from today. So Unbeatable, I think, is the white guys. I really want to experience the Ghostbusters thing. We have Birdly, who lets you fly like a bird with a wind machine, and you really have the feeling of flying for sure. There are roller coasters. And another example I want to give is the field trip to Mars on the right below, where it's a so-called local multiplayer game where children without headsets experience a field trip on Mars, which I think is awesome. And also there are a lot of companies actually working on it. I think this slide was full at one time. I think there are many, many more. But like there's really some very nice movement and development in this in location-based VR. And coming back to the question, if VR is going to be, if you're having a VR dedicated room at home, is maybe yes, but probably we're not having a rebuilt landscape at home or a wind machine or something like that. So I think this is the unique selling point for location-based VR. Coming to the next question, looking at the development, seeing that picture, if where you see an application from Asobo Studios for the Microsoft HoloLens, will augmented reality will be a game changer in that. I just put the quote online. So you can vote for that. What I think, yes, it will really be a game changer. It's going to be awesome. But VR and AR have different qualities. So I think nowadays we are playing with terms, calling something VR, calling something AR. To show the different qualities, like VR is where you're being, where like virtual is all over, like you're really being immersed in a completely environment that is just virtual, and AR means in this case that there is a virtual layer over the real world. But if you see the development at the moment, there are developments that both will be together. So AR and VR, when we're looking at the Intel Project Alloy or the Lenovo cell phone with Tango. So I think today it's just about terms, but in the end we could decide on with the same device if we want to use the qualities of VR or the qualities of AR. Coming to what kind of possibilities I think has location-based VR. For sure, we're having the gaming arcades that I've just showed before, but I think it would be awesome for museums. Imagine you can really feel and smell the breath of a dinosaur and touch its leg and feel the skin and stuff, or putting together atoms and feel the heat of the chemical reaction, or being somewhere in history, smelling the horse smell in a Western, or whatever it is. I think it's going to be very big in art to put up in galleries, for sure, in public space and pop-up experiences and educational institutes. So I think there will be a lot of institutes, or there are already some institutes who put location-based VR as a educational tool. When we think about companies, what kind of use cases I see for companies, I think their location-based VR will be big for conventions, for showrooms, or flagship stores. And coming back to the term of story living, imagine when I'm just thinking about the most boring product I can think of, it might be, for example, a house insurance or something. So imagine you're being on a convention where they inform you about house insurance and they put you in the VR experiences where you feel an orcon that blows away your house, and afterwards you would know, okay, maybe it's more clever to sign a house insurance, stuff like that. So I think companies make their products livable and very emotional. Coming back, so I think involvement, which is the marketing term, needs to be redefined. So I think companies can really involve, really involve their consumers with their products. And I really hope to see more location-based VR experience in this kind of field. Coming back to Empfaenger Verzogen. So Empfaenger Verzogen for us is a pilot project to prepare us for all kinds of experiences, for us, it was the most important to tell appealing stories. So we really put a lot of effort into the story and work out a concept for story living. For us, it was very important not to just have a dedicated experience, like, okay, you can fly over the mountains with a paraglider, but really bring up a concept that tells a whole story and that you experience differently when you play it again. We're developing concepts how to merge virtual and real environment. So all the multisensory overlaps that we have, we had to think about how to provide that. And in the end, this project really is a hard project. We really want to push forward, as we think this can be the future of story living. And so last but not least, thanks a lot for your involvement answering the questions. I really hope you liked the talk. And now I'm ready for Q&A. And I'm going back to the questions from the audience, and I will just read the questions. So there is one question asking, what's the best way to apply these practices that you use in the theater to marketing, say, for exhibitions and conferences? I hope I kind of have answered this already. So coming back to the example with the boring house insurance, if you can really feel how hard or how outcome feels, or like very, very strong wind feels, you would be more convinced to sign, for example, an house insurance. So I think the more senses you trigger, the more emotional story you can tell. And I hope I answered that question. So the next question is, the iOS 10 comes with a much improved Maps feature. Do you think they'll be incorporating more location-based VR into upcoming releases? I really hope so. I really hope that location-based VR will be something that we see more often. Also, what I see is that the concepts for story living is also driven by technology development. So the technology development will provide more use cases or more possibilities for story living. The other way around, if you want to tell a story and we wouldn't have hardware or software for it, we would develop this. So there's kind of a circle. So there is the next question. What is your response to people who still think of VR as just a game? Basically, I hope I have answered this question also already. I think that if we see the media landscape, there is a big gamification factor. So I think the term game can be defined very widely. In my perspective, game means being interactive and heading to a goal somehow. So I think VR is we cannot say it's just a game, because it's kind of the concept that is behind VR in terms of being interactive with the medium. Next question. When do you think AR and VR will be fully adopted in theater or as an entertainment system? Good question. I think we will see the technological development and see when things get affordable and when things get convenient for a broad audience to use. Same as with me thinking of myself. I used to be a photographer, and I I just worked myself into the field of VR, and I learned it from the scratch. But this was kind of a challenge. So if it gets easier for artists and or the interdisciplinary interdisciplinary artists, I think then is the time when people start creating concept for that, and if people start create concept for that, there will be the time where it's where we'll see a lot of these things in general. The next question. For theater, if you can watch the production via a VR headset in your home, do you think it risks harming in-person attendance, damage the theater industry? Well, we're, as Winnie Christiansen is coming from the field of theater, we are talking about this a lot, and we are also talking about the digitalization and if that harms like the arts in general, but we don't think so. We think that if you use the media right, you can actually make bridges in between. So the same as what we do at the moment is that we're having this location-based VR theater experience. We are additionally making this only VR-only app. So we're kind of trying to tackle both markets to talk like that, and also maybe someone who just experienced the VR-only app wants to know, all right, and how does it actually feel? So I'm going to this immersive theater that is location-based, or the other way around. I cannot go to this location-based theater because it's maybe it's not coming to my city. I rather try the VR app and experience the theater there. So I think if we handle the digitalization right, I think it can enrich both the theater industry as well as the arts industry, as well as the VR or digital only applications, I guess. Are there more questions? So, yeah, thanks a lot for your involvement. I hope you liked the talk and it was informative. Maybe last but not least, I want to ask you a question for like internal research. So as I presented to you what we're doing with this VR immersive theater experience, I want to ask you if you could imagine or if you would like to experience the theater play Empfaenger Verzogen. So I just open up the poll and you can start voting. And I'm really looking forward to your answers. And I'm very, Maybe also you can ask questions or make states on what to do better, or what kind of other ideas you have in mind heading to the immersive theater at Empfaenger Verzogen. Maybe some critics or whatever comes to your mind thinking about this concept. So the talk still goes 10 minutes. You can still, if you want to get to know or have questions about the presentation, I just keep on being online. And whenever there's a question popping up, I'll answer that. Thanks a lot for listening to me. I really enjoyed putting this talk up for Pride Talk. And yeah, whenever there's a question or you want to talk with me about concepts or whatever it is, you can just refer to my Twitter account or write me an email or whatever. So thanks a lot and talk to you soon. Thank you for the nice feedback, you guys. I just checked the feedback. I'm very happy. Thanks a lot. So I think I'll end this presentation now. Thanks a lot and bye-bye.